Chapter 1. Borrow, Blend, and Build. Every creative act is built on what came before. If you're waiting to create something completely original, you'll be waiting forever. That's the lie we tell ourselves, that true creativity is about pulling something brand new out of thin air. It's not. Creativity is about remixing, borrowing, and transforming the ideas that inspire you. When I first started writing and drawing, I didn't know what I was doing. I'd stare at a blank page waiting for some grand original idea to strike me like lightning. It never came. Instead, I found myself drawn to artists, musicians, and writers who sparked something in me. So I did what every creative person does. I copied them. Here's the truth: nothing is original. Every idea has a family tree. The songs you love, the movies that move you, the paintings that hang in galleries, they're all built on borrowed ideas. When you understand this, creativity gets easier. The pressure to be completely original disappears, and you start focusing on what really matters: curating your influences. Think of it like this: you're a DJ spinning records at a club. The beats, the samples, the layers, they're all borrowed. But the way you combine them? That's you. Great artists don't just steal, they steal selectively. They pick ideas they love, ideas that speak to them, and ideas that feel like a natural extension of who they are. The trick is to steal from the right places. Don't just rip off one artist. Rip off 100. If you steal from one person, that's plagiarism. If you steal from many, that's research. Picasso said it best: art is theft. But what he meant was this: steal in a way that makes something new. Start building your own influence map. Write down the names of artists, writers, musicians, filmmakers, anyone who excites you. Dig into their work. Find out who inspired them. Keep following those connections, and soon you'll have your own creative family tree, a web of ideas that feed your imagination. But don't just take ideas, transform them. The best artists don't stop at copying. They push things further. Take an idea and twist it, break it, distort it, and make it your own. If you love a writer's style, try imitating their rhythm, but with your own stories. If a filmmaker's framing excites you, use that composition in your own photos. Don't just steal ideas, remix them. Here's a trick: when you copy someone you admire, you won't get it quite right. And that's a good thing. The imperfections, the way your hand trembles when you sketch like your favorite illustrator, or the words you fumble when imitating your favorite writer, those little mistakes are where your voice starts to shine through. Copying isn't about perfect mimicry, it's about learning the language of your heroes so you can speak in your own accent. Don't be afraid to wear your influences on your sleeve. The Beatles openly admitted they were obsessed with American rock and roll. Quentin Tarantino's films are practically a scrapbook of old kung fu movies, westerns, and grindhouse flicks. They weren't ashamed to show their influences. They celebrated them. The key is to build a creative identity that feels authentic. You're not trying to be a second-rate version of your heroes. You're trying to be you. The only way to do that is by gathering the bits and pieces that resonate with you most. Surround yourself with inspiring work. Read voraciously. Watch films that excite you. Fill your life with music, paintings, poetry, whatever sparks your curiosity. The more you immerse yourself in creative material, the richer your own ideas will become. It's not enough to just collect ideas. You have to consume them actively. Take notes, sketch things out, copy passages by hand. Write down quotes that inspire you. Creativity is an act of digestion. You need to break ideas down and absorb them before they can become your own. Remember, inspiration doesn't always come from art alone. Look everywhere: in conversations, on walks, at your day job. Your best ideas will often come when you're paying attention to the world around you. Creativity isn't about locking yourself in a room and forcing ideas to appear. It's about living fully and letting those experiences shape your work. The world wants you to be original. Ignore that. Instead, be authentic. Steal from your influences, mix those ideas with your own life, and create something that feels honest. Originality isn't about being first. It's about being real. So go ahead, Borrow from others, blend as you wish, and build as yours. Chapter 2. Start, even if you are unsure where you are going. A lot of people sit around waiting for inspiration to strike. They tell themselves they can't start until they know exactly who they are or what their voice sounds like. They get stuck thinking they need some magical aha moment before they begin. But that's just an excuse. The truth is, you don't figure out who you are until you start creating. You learn by doing. You figure it out by showing up every day and making stuff. Bad stuff, weird stuff, embarrassing stuff. The only way to find your voice is to use it. And the sooner you start, the better. When I first started writing, I had no clue what I wanted to say. So I started by copying my heroes. I mimicked their style, their tone, their rhythm. I wrote like the authors I admired most. I wasn't trying to be a ripoff. I was trying to understand how they did it. That's the best way to learn. Copying is how we learn anything. Musicians start by playing cover songs. Painters start by copying masterworks. Writers start by imitating their favorite authors. Copy the people you love, and keep going until you find your own twist. There's a difference between good copying and bad copying. Bad copying is flat-out stealing, trying to pass off someone else's work as your own. Good copying is about reverse engineering. You're studying your heroes, picking apart their techniques, and figuring out what makes their work sing. When you copy well, you eventually reach a point where you can't help but add something of yourself. You'll stumble, you'll mess things up, but those mistakes will push you in a direction that's yours. You can't copy someone perfectly, and that's where your originality will start to shine. If you're stuck, ask yourself this: what would my heroes do if they were in my shoes? If your favorite filmmaker were telling your story, how would they frame it? If your favorite writer were writing your life, how would they describe it? Start there. Imitate their process, not just their product. When you study your influences, go deeper than the surface. Find out how they work, how they think, how they live. What are their habits? What routines keep them creative? Mimic those things too. Often, the magic isn't just in what they make. It's in how they make it. Don't be afraid to fake it for a while. Pretend you know what you're doing, even if you don't. Call yourself an artist, a writer, a musician, whatever it is you're trying to be. If you act like that person long enough, you'll start to believe it. And eventually, you will become it. David Bowie once said that when you feel like you're out of your depth, when your feet can barely touch the bottom, that's where you should be. That's the sweet spot. You have to let yourself get uncomfortable. That discomfort means you're pushing yourself into new territory. The worst thing you can do is sit back and wait for some magical moment when you know exactly what you want to say or create. It doesn't work like that. Clarity comes through action. Confidence comes from making things. You have to show up every day and start building. Write a page, sketch a drawing, play a few notes, whatever it is you want to do. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't even have to be good. You just have to start. Creativity is momentum. The more you move, the easier it gets to keep going. Don't be afraid to experiment. Try new things. Try things that seem silly or out of character. Some of the best ideas come from just messing around and seeing what happens. When you're playing, you're free. You're not worried about being perfect. That's where new ideas are born. If you're feeling stuck, switch things up. Try working in a different medium. Write your ideas down instead of typing them. Sketch with a pencil instead of a pen. Creativity thrives on change. Sometimes you just need to shake up your routine to unlock something new. The truth is, nobody really knows what they're doing when they start. Everyone's just making it up as they go. The people who succeed are the ones who show up, put in the work, and figure things out along the way. Don't wait until you know who you are to get started. Start now, and trust that you'll figure it out as you go. Chapter 3. Pen the very pages that you would eagerly consume. If you're stuck wondering what you should create, the answer is simple. Make what you want to see in the world. Write the book you wish existed. Paint the picture you want to hang in your living room. Build the product you wish you could buy. The things you crave most are clues to what you should be making. When I started writing, I didn't know where to begin. I knew I wanted to make something, but I didn't know what it was supposed to look like. Then I asked myself a simple question: what do I wish someone else had made for me? That changed everything. Think about what you love. Think about the kind of stories you'd read, the kind of art you'd hang on your walls, the kind of music you'd play on repeat. Those are your best clues. The things you're obsessed with are the things you should be making. If you can't find the thing you want out there, that's a sign. It's your job to make it. The world needs it. If you're craving it, chances are someone else is too. Instead of chasing trends or trying to predict what's popular, focus on what excites you. If you're genuinely interested in what you're making, your passion will show through. Enthusiasm is contagious. When you're excited about your work, it attracts people who are excited too. It's easy to second-guess yourself. Maybe you think your taste is too weird, too niche, or too obscure. That's good. The more specific your taste, the better. Don't try to please everyone. Aim to please yourself first. When you create what you love, your work will feel honest and authentic. The best creators make things for themselves first. Kurt Vonnegut once said he wrote for one person, his sister. When you focus on pleasing just one person, even if that person is you, your work becomes more personal, and personal work always resonates more deeply. If you're feeling unsure about what to make, start by listing the things you love. Make a list of your favorite books, movies, songs, and pieces of art. Look at what they have in common. What themes keep popping up? What kinds of characters do you connect with? What stories get you excited? Those patterns reveal what matters to you, and that's the kind of work you should be making. Don't be afraid to mash things together. If you love comic books and poetry, mix them. If you love old movies and modern design, blend those styles. Some of the most interesting ideas come from combining things that don't seem to go together. When you start creating the work you love, you'll naturally attract people who share your taste. Those are your people. Don't waste time trying to win over everyone. Focus on finding your tribe. The people who get what you're doing because they love the same things you love. Your influences are part of this too. Pay attention to the artists, writers, and creators you admire most. Ask yourself what it is about their work that excites you. It's not about copying them. It's about finding inspiration in what they've done and adding your own twist. Remember that nothing has to be perfect. You don't have to know exactly what you're doing when you start. Just start. Write the first sentence, draw the first line, record the first note. You can always fix it later. The important thing is getting started. Don't underestimate the power of your own experience. Your life, your memories, your sense of humor. Those are the things that will make your work unique. Lean into what makes you different. The weirdest, most personal parts of yourself are often the most interesting. If you're feeling intimidated, remind yourself that your first draft doesn't have to be good. It just has to exist. Once you have something down, you can shape it, improve it, and make it stronger. Perfection comes later. For now, your job is to create something you'd actually want to read, hear, or see. Every time you get stuck, ask yourself this question: what's missing in the world that I wish existed? Then go make that thing. The world doesn't need another copy of something that's already out there. It needs your version, your perspective, your take. So stop waiting for someone else to make the thing you want. Go make it yourself. Write the book you want to read. Draw the comic you want to flip through. Create the song you want to dance to. The world is waiting for it. Chapter 4. Get hands-on. Step away from the screen. Seriously. Close the laptop, put down your phone, and grab a pencil, a marker, or some scissors. Get your hands moving. There's something magical about working with your hands. When you make something physically, when you're cutting, pasting, drawing, or scribbling, you connect with your work in a different way. It's less about thinking and more about feeling. There's an energy in physical creation that digital tools can't quite match. Too often, we get stuck in our heads. We sit in front of a screen and stare at a blinking cursor, waiting for ideas to show up. But the best ideas don't always come from thinking harder. They come from moving your body, from putting pen to paper or your hands in the dirt. When I'm stuck, I grab my notebook. I start writing down words, drawing arrows, sketching weird shapes, anything to get my brain out of its loop. It doesn't always make sense at first, but that's the point. Working with your hands gets you out of your head and back into the flow of creating. If you're a writer, try cutting up old magazines and making a collage. If you're a musician, try drawing pictures of the sounds you're trying to create. If you're an artist, try sculpting instead of sketching. When you switch mediums, you wake up different parts of your brain. Your workspace matters too. Don't let your entire creative process happen on a screen. Set up a physical space where you can make a mess. Fill it with materials that invite you to play: markers, sticky notes, sketchbooks, or scissors. Give yourself permission to be messy. The chaos is part of the process. I keep 2 desks, one digital, one analog. My digital desk has my computer, where I type, edit, and organize. My analog desk is a mess. Notebooks piled on top of each other, sticky notes all over the place, scraps of paper with half-formed ideas. That mess is where my ideas come to life. When I feel blocked, I move from my digital desk to my analog desk. I write things out by hand. I scribble and doodle. I cut things up and rearrange them on my desk. That shift from digital to physical shakes my brain awake. Writing by hand has a special power. It slows you down just enough to connect you to your thoughts. Typing is fast, but writing by hand forces you to think about what you're saying as you write it. It's harder to rush past the important stuff. Collage is another great way to unlock new ideas. Take magazines, newspapers, or old books and start cutting out words, images, and colors that grab your attention. Don't overthink it. Just collect what excites you. Then spread everything out and start rearranging the pieces. Something surprising always happens when you start moving things around. When you work with your hands, accidents happen, and accidents are often where the magic is. That accidental paint splatter might become the perfect texture. That scribble you almost erased might reveal a new idea. Mistakes aren't failures. They're clues. They show you new directions you hadn't considered. Creativity is about connecting the dots. The more materials you have to work with, the more dots you have to connect. Filling your workspace with scraps, notes, sketches, and half-finished ideas gives you more pieces to play with. Creativity thrives in clutter. If you're feeling stuck, take a walk. Go cook something. Rearrange your bookshelves. Your body needs movement just as much as your brain does. Shifting gears like this wakes up parts of your mind that have been sleeping. Don't underestimate the power of working with your hands. Digital tools are efficient, but they're too neat, too predictable. Ideas need space to stumble, wander, and collide with each other. That's why you need your hands, to cut, draw, scribble, fold, and smudge your way into something unexpected. The next time you're struggling to start, step away from the screen. Grab a marker, cut some paper, write something out by hand. Your hands know what to do. You just have to give them a chance. Chapter 5. Make room for your passions and side projects. They matter. The things you do when no one's watching are often the things that matter most. Your side projects, your weird experiments, your just-for-fun ideas. They're not distractions. They're the key to finding your voice. Too often, we put all our focus on serious work. We chase projects that seem important, that look good on paper, or that feel like they'll move our careers forward. But it's the playful stuff, the side projects, the hobbies, the experiments, that often turn out to be the most meaningful. Your side projects are where you get to be free. There's no pressure to make money, no deadline breathing down your neck, no client to please. It's just you, your ideas, and whatever weird little world you're building. Some of the best ideas start off as hobbies. When you're just playing around, you're more willing to take risks. You're more likely to stumble into something fresh and unexpected. Creativity thrives when there's no pressure to get it right. Side projects give you a chance to follow your curiosity. Maybe you love photography, or doodling, or baking strange desserts. Those hobbies might not seem connected to your real work, but they are. Every time you play with ideas in one area, you're feeding your creativity in another. When you're feeling stuck, the best thing you can do is switch gears. Walk away from your main project and go tinker with something else. Your brain needs that break. Often, the breakthrough you've been waiting for shows up when you're busy doing something completely unrelated. One of my friends was a designer by day, but at night he played around with coding weird little websites. Those websites didn't seem like real work. They were just something fun to do after hours. But one day, his boss saw one of those side projects and ended up giving him a huge opportunity to redesign the company's website. That just-for-fun project turned into something big. You never know where your side projects will lead. Sometimes they turn into paid work. Sometimes they grow into something bigger. And sometimes they just exist for their own sake. And that's okay too. The point isn't to monetize everything. The point is to stay connected to your curiosity. Give yourself permission to make things just because you enjoy making them. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be impressive. It doesn't even have to make sense to anyone else. Just make something that makes you happy. A lot of people will tell you that hobbies are a waste of time. Don't listen to them. Hobbies are where your creativity gets to breathe. When you're not worried about success or failure, you're free to take risks. Those risks are what push your ideas forward. Your hobbies can teach you things you'd never learn otherwise. If you paint, you start to notice color differently. If you cook, you start to think about timing and flavor. If you play music, you start to hear patterns in everything around you. All those skills start to bleed into your real work, even if you don't realize it at first. Your hobbies also keep you grounded. When you're overwhelmed with deadlines or stuck in creative burnout, a hobby can pull you back to joy. It reminds you why you started creating in the first place. The trick is to protect your hobbies from the pressure of turning them into work. Once you start thinking about money or recognition, it's easy to lose that playful energy. Let your hobbies be messy. Let them stay imperfect. Let them be yours. If you're feeling stuck, start a side project. If you're feeling burned out, spend some time on a hobby. The things you make for fun are never wasted time. They're fuel. They keep you curious, engaged, and creative. Some of your best ideas won't come from your main project. They'll sneak in from the side. From the late-night sketch, the goofy experiment, or the random idea you chased just because it felt interesting. Make time for side projects. Nurture your hobbies. The stuff you do for fun is just as important as the stuff you do for work. Keep playing. Keep tinkering. Those small, playful moments are where the magic happens. Chapter 6. Excel in your craft and make your creations known. There's no magic formula for success, but if there's one secret I've learned, it's this. Do good work and share it with people. That's it. That's the whole game. First, you have to focus on the work. Good work doesn't happen overnight. It takes practice. It takes showing up every day, putting in the effort, and staying committed long enough to get better. You can't skip this part. The work comes first. A lot of people want to be seen before they're ready. They want to go viral or get famous without putting in the time to build something worth noticing. Don't fall into that trap. The best way to get better is to focus on the process, to keep making things, refining them, and improving. Start by making things in private. Don't worry about an audience yet. Just practice, experiment, push yourself, figure out what excites you most. Once you've made something you're proud of, something that feels honest and true, then it's time to share it. Sharing your work isn't about begging for attention. It's about inviting people into your process. When you share what you're working on, you create a window for others to see how you think, what you care about, and what excites you. That's how you connect with the right people, the ones who genuinely care about what you're doing. Don't feel like you have to wait until your work is perfect. Nothing is ever perfect. Share what you're working on now, the rough sketches, the half-finished ideas, the experiments that didn't quite turn out right. People love seeing the process. The messy middle is often more interesting than the polished result. When you're just starting out, the internet is your best friend. Use it. The web isn't just for mindless scrolling. It's a tool for building your creative network. Post your work online. Start a blog. Share your sketches, your notes, your thoughts. The more you put your work out there, the easier it becomes for people to find you. It's okay if you don't have a huge audience at first. In fact, it's better that way. Early on, your small audience gives you room to grow. You can make mistakes, try weird ideas, and figure things out without too much pressure. Focus on connecting with the people who actually care. When you share your work, Be generous. Don't just talk about yourself. Talk about what inspires you. Share the books you're reading, the music you're listening to, and the artists you admire. Shine a light on other people's work. When you give credit to your influences, you create connections with people who share your tastes. If you're worried about putting yourself out there, start small. Share one piece of your work each day. It doesn't have to be huge. A quick sketch, a paragraph from something you're writing, a photo of what's on your desk. The key is to show up consistently. Small, regular updates are more powerful than big, occasional ones. Your work doesn't have to appeal to everyone. It just has to resonate with the right people. Don't worry about critics or trolls. They'll always be out there, but they don't matter. The people who matter are the ones who love what you do and connect with it. Focus on those people. The more you share your work, the more opportunities will start to show up. You never know who's watching. That weird drawing you post might get noticed by an art director. That blog post you write might connect you to your next collaborator. The key is to stay visible, to keep showing up, day after day. You don't need to go viral. You don't need 1 million followers. All you need are a few people who love what you do. Those people will tell their friends, and those friends will tell their friends. That's how creative work spreads. One person at a time. Good work gets noticed, but you have to put it out there first. Nobody's gonna come knock on your door and ask to see your sketches or read your manuscript. You have to take that first step. You have to be brave enough to say, "Here's what I made." So keep your head down and focus on the work. Make something you're proud of. When you're ready, start sharing it. Don't worry if it feels small at first. Every piece you share is a chance for someone to connect with you. Do good work. Share it with people. Then do it again. That's the whole secret. Nothing fancy. Just hard work, a little courage, and a willingness to keep showing up. Chapter 7. We have gained freedom from geographical limitations. You don't have to live in New York, Los Angeles, or some big city to be creative anymore. The internet has changed that. You can build a creative life from anywhere. Geography no longer controls your destiny. For a long time, people believed that if you wanted to make it, you had to move to the big city where everything was happening. That's not true anymore. Thanks to the internet, you can connect with creative people, share your work, and find your tribe no matter where you are. This is great news. If you live in a small town or a quiet suburb, you have something the city doesn't: room to breathe. Fewer distractions. Fewer people constantly telling you what to do or who to be. Quiet places give you space to think, create, and get better. Being far away from the scene can actually be an advantage. When you're away from the noise, you can focus on your work instead of getting caught up in trends, gossip, or trying to impress the right people. The farther you are from the crowd, the less pressure you feel to conform. If you're feeling isolated, remember this: the internet is your lifeline. Use it to connect with people who inspire you. Follow artists, writers, and creators you admire. Reach out to people whose work excites you. Creativity isn't about where you live, it's about who you connect with. Your creative network doesn't have to exist in the same zip code. It exists in your inbox, your DMs, and your video calls. You can build meaningful connections without ever leaving your house. The trick is to stay active, to keep putting your work out there and reaching out to the people you admire. At the same time, don't underestimate the value of your local environment. Your surroundings shape your work in ways you might not even notice. The things you see every day, the streets you walk, the signs in shop windows, the conversations you overhear, all feed your creativity. Pay attention to the world around you. Just because your town doesn't seem cool, doesn't mean it's not interesting. Every place has its quirks. Every place has its own flavor. Find what makes your environment special and use that in your work. If you're stuck in a boring place, embrace it. Boredom is a powerful tool. When you're bored, your mind starts to wander. You start noticing things you'd normally overlook. Boredom forces you to get creative, to dig deeper into your thoughts and ideas. If you feel like your surroundings are holding you back, create your own world. Build a creative space that inspires you. Fill your room with books, sketches, music, anything that makes you feel energized. Your creative space should feel like a sanctuary where ideas can grow. Don't be afraid to unplug once in a while. The internet is powerful, but it can also be overwhelming. Step away from the noise and spend time with your own thoughts. Creativity doesn't always happen when you're scrolling. It happens in the quiet moments when your mind has space to wander. Even if you live in a big city, you can create your own quiet space. Find a park bench, a library corner, or a quiet cafe where you can be alone with your ideas. No matter where you are, you can always carve out a place for yourself. Sometimes, leaving your environment is the best thing you can do. Take a walk, drive to the next town, visit a museum or an old bookstore. New surroundings can jolt your brain awake and give you new ideas. But you don't have to move across the country to shake things up. A change of scenery can be as simple as rearranging your desk or sitting in a different chair. The truth is, where you are matters far less than what you do with your time. It's not about being in the right place. It's about doing the right work. The internet makes it easier than ever to share your work with the world. No matter where you're sitting, you're not stuck. Wherever you are right now can be the perfect place to start. Your creativity isn't tied to your zip code. The most important thing is to show up every day and do the work. So forget the myth that you have to be somewhere special to be creative. You already have everything you need, right where you are. Chapter 8. Treat everyone kindly. The world is more interconnected than you think. Being creative isn't just about making cool stuff. It's about building relationships. No matter what kind of work you're doing, the people you connect with will shape your journey. And the best way to build those connections is simple. Be nice. The creative world is smaller than you think. No matter what field you're in, word gets around fast. The people you meet today may end up being your collaborators, clients, mentors, or supporters down the road. Treat them well. When you're just starting out, you might feel invisible. It's easy to think that being loud, arrogant, or edgy will get you noticed. Don't fall into that trap. Instead, focus on being kind. Be the person others want to work with. Be generous with your praise, your time, and your ideas. The best way to get noticed is to notice others. If someone's work excites you, tell them. Send a message, write a comment, share their work with your friends. Don't just focus on promoting yourself. Celebrate the people who inspire you. Compliments are powerful. They cost you nothing, but they can mean everything to someone else. When you admire someone's work, let them know. Send that email, write that note. People remember kindness. The internet makes it easier than ever to connect with people. Reach out to your heroes, ask questions, show your appreciation. But remember, don't ask for too much. Nobody owes you their time or attention. Focus on building relationships, not just asking for favors. If you can't meet your heroes, become friends with the people around you. Build a network of peers who are working at your level. Find your fellow beginners, the people who are figuring things out just like you are. Those friendships will be invaluable as you grow. Instead of trying to impress people at the top, focus on the people next to you. When you support your peers, you grow together. Those early connections often turn into lifelong collaborations. Generosity is your greatest tool. Share what you know. If you figured out a cool technique, teach it. If you found a great resource, pass it along. The more you give, the more connections you build. Creativity isn't a competition. There's room for everyone. Don't waste time with negativity. Criticizing other people's work won't get you anywhere. If you don't like something, just move on. Focus your energy on the things you love, not the things you hate. If you admire someone's work, don't just copy it. Remix it. Build on it. Add your own ideas and push it in a new direction. Acknowledge your influences and give credit where it's due. Nobody succeeds alone. When you do get attention, share the spotlight. Celebrate the people who helped you along the way. Shout out your mentors, your collaborators, and your inspirations. The more you lift others up, the more you'll find people willing to support you in return. Success isn't just about talent. It's about relationships. People want to work with people they trust, people they respect, and people they enjoy being around. Being nice isn't about being fake. It's about being genuine. Show people you care, and they'll remember you. Don't forget to be nice to the people who support your work too. Respond to comments. Thank people for sharing your work. If someone takes the time to connect with you, make an effort to connect back. Those small gestures build meaningful relationships. The creative world is full of twists and turns. You never know who's going to show up in your life again. That person you meet at a small event today might be the one who offers you a huge opportunity later. Every conversation, every connection, every kindness has the potential to circle back in unexpected ways. Being nice isn't about being weak. It's about being smart. The world is full of talented people, but talent alone isn't enough. The people who succeed are the ones who know how to treat others with respect and generosity. So be nice. Share what you love. Support the people around you. Celebrate the work that inspires you. Creativity isn't just about making things. It's about building a community where those things can thrive. The world is a small town. Treat it like one. Chapter 9. The key to output? A reliable, consistent approach, not a constant search for thrills. If you want to be creative, you can't live like a rock star. Forget the myth of the wild artist who parties all night and magically wakes up inspired the next morning. That's not how good work gets done. The truth is, creativity thrives in boring, consistent routines. A creative life isn't about constant excitement. It's about showing up every day and putting in the work. The best way to stay creative is to build a life that's stable, predictable, and yes, sometimes boring. It might not sound glamorous, but boring habits are powerful. A steady routine frees your brain from the chaos of daily decision-making. When your life is organized, you can focus your energy on making stuff instead of figuring out what to eat, when to sleep, or where to start. Establishing a routine doesn't mean locking yourself into a miserable schedule. It's about building a structure that supports your creativity. Think of your routine as a framework, something that holds your life steady so your ideas can grow. Figure out when you're at your best. Some people create better in the morning, while others find their rhythm late at night. Pay attention to your energy levels and design your day around them. If you do your best work in the morning, set aside that time for writing, drawing, or brainstorming. If your creativity shows up in the evening, make space for it then. Creativity isn't just about finding time. It's about protecting that time. Once you know when you work best, guard that time fiercely. Turn off your phone. Ignore your email. Close the door. Make it clear to the world and yourself that this is your creative time, and nothing gets in the way. If you're serious about your work, you can't rely on sudden bursts of inspiration. Inspiration is unreliable. Discipline is what keeps the work moving forward. The artists who finish projects aren't the ones who wait for inspiration. They're the ones who sit down every day and chip away at their ideas, even when they don't feel like it. Build a calendar that supports your creative goals. Schedule your work sessions the same way you'd schedule a doctor's appointment or a meeting. Treat your creative time like it's non-negotiable. Outside of your work time, embrace the boring stuff too. Pay your bills, eat healthy food, get some sleep, go for walks. Take care of your body and your mind. The better you take care of yourself, the more creative energy you'll have when you sit down to make things. Don't underestimate the power of a boring job either. Some of the most creative people I know have day jobs that are dull and repetitive. The best thing about boring work is that it doesn't drain your creative energy. Instead, it leaves your mind free to wander. Mundane tasks like folding laundry, washing dishes, or filing papers often spark new ideas. Boring routines give you structure. They keep your life from spinning out of control. When your days are steady, your mind has space to take creative risks. Don't fall into the trap of thinking that being busy equals being productive. Filling your day with endless meetings, tasks, and distractions leaves no time for real creative work. Busy isn't the same as creative. The people who get the most done are often the ones who do less, but they do it with focus and purpose. The truth is, creative breakthroughs often come when you're doing nothing. Boredom gives your mind space to wander. That's when ideas sneak in. When you sit quietly or take a long walk, your brain starts making unexpected connections. Protect your downtime. Give yourself permission to unplug. Don't feel guilty about rest. Creativity needs space to breathe, and a calm mind is a creative mind. Being boring isn't about giving up excitement. It's about protecting your energy. The most creative people aren't the ones who live on the edge. They're the ones who know how to balance focus with rest, structure with play. So make your life a little boring. Get some sleep, eat good food, take long walks, find a rhythm that works for you and stick to it. Creativity isn't about chaos. It's about finding a quiet place where your ideas can grow. Be boring. That's how you get the work done. Chapter 10. True artistry is found in what you choose to leave out. Creative work isn't about adding more. It's about figuring out what you can leave out. The best ideas are often the simplest ones. Creativity isn't about cramming everything in. It's about choosing what to focus on and what to leave behind. The world is full of noise. Every day you're bombarded with endless information, distractions, and options. If you're not careful, your ideas can get drowned out. The best creative minds aren't the ones who try to do everything. They're the ones who know what to ignore. Limitations are your friend. When you put constraints on your work, you force yourself to get creative. A blank page can be intimidating because you can do anything. But when you give yourself some rules to follow, you make your job easier. Some of the best creative ideas come from working with what you have. When you're forced to use fewer tools, fewer resources, or fewer options, you're pushed to find smarter solutions. Scarcity forces you to make bold choices. Think about black and white movies. Those filmmakers didn't have color to play with, so they had to rely on shadow, light, and contrast to tell their stories. The limitation pushed them to get creative. Instead of seeing limits as obstacles, try to see them as opportunities. When you're starting a project, don't ask yourself what you can add. Ask what you can take away. What's distracting from the core idea? What feels unnecessary? Start trimming. Remove the fluff. Strip things down to the essentials. If you're a writer, try writing a story in 6 sentences. If you're a musician, try recording a song with only 3 instruments. If you're a photographer, challenge yourself to shoot with just 1 lens. Tighten the rules, and your creativity will thrive. Don't be afraid to cut good ideas if they don't serve the whole. It's easy to get attached to certain lines, scenes, or images just because you worked hard on them. But if they're not helping the final piece, they have to go. Good editing isn't about throwing away bad ideas. It's about removing anything that doesn't make the whole stronger. Every artist has to learn to let go. Sometimes you'll create something you love, but it doesn't fit the project. Don't be afraid to save those bits for later. Start a scrap file, a folder, notebook, or sketchbook where you keep all those ideas that didn't fit. They might be perfect for something else down the road. Embrace simplicity. Too much detail can overwhelm your audience. If your design, your writing, or your music is cluttered with extra stuff, the core message gets lost. Don't try to impress people by showing them everything you know. Show them only what they need to see. Nothing more. Every creative medium has its own language of subtraction. In writing, it's cutting words. In music, it's reducing the number of instruments. In design, it's removing clutter. In filmmaking, it's editing out unnecessary scenes. The goal is always the same. Create space for what really matters. It's okay to start messy. In fact, you should. Throw all your ideas on the page, in the sketchbook, or on the screen. Let the chaos spill out. But once that's done, step back and ask yourself, what's essential here? Keep only what's powerful. Subtraction isn't just about the final product. It's also about your creative process. Don't waste time chasing too many ideas at once. Focus on one thing at a time. Give it your full attention. Too many projects, too many distractions, and too much multitasking will dilute your best work. Your creative time is limited, so protect it. Cut out activities that drain your energy or pull you away from your work. Learn to say no. It's not easy, but every yes you give to something unimportant is a no to something that matters. If your work isn't clicking, it might be because there's too much going on. Step back and ask yourself what you can simplify. Sometimes the boldest move is to take something away. Creativity isn't about having endless options. It's about making strong choices. By embracing limitations, cutting out the excess, and focusing only on what's essential, you give your best ideas the space to shine. Creativity is subtraction. Make less, but make it count. Chapter 10. Your creative potential is boundless. There's no right way to be creative. The path isn't straight, and there's no map that guarantees success. The truth is, you make your own path by walking it. The most important thing you can do is start right now with what you have. Forget the myth that creativity belongs to some rare breed of gifted individuals. Creativity isn't magic, and it's not reserved for geniuses. It's for everyone. It's for you. Steal ideas that excite you. Build on them. Share your work. And connect with people who inspire you. Stay curious. Be kind. Keep learning. Most of all, keep showing up. The creative life isn't about waiting for lightning to strike. It's about building a fire. It's about collecting sparks and feeding the flames, little by little, day after day. Some days the fire will burn bright. Other days it will barely flicker. But if you keep adding to it, ideas, inspiration, effort, the fire will keep going. Your work doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to exist. The more you create, the better you'll get. The better you get, the more you'll discover your own voice. And that's the most powerful tool you have. Don't waste time worrying about what other people think. Make what you love. Create what excites you, what makes you curious, what feels true to you. Forget about trends, forget about critics, forget about trying to be right. The world doesn't need another watered-down version of something that's already out there. It needs your version. The creative path is rarely easy. There will be days when you're stuck, uninspired, or filled with doubt. That's normal. The trick is to keep moving forward anyway. Creativity is a practice, not a performance. The more you show up and do the work, the easier it gets to trust the process. You'll stumble. You'll make mistakes. You'll create things that don't turn out the way you hoped. That's all part of the journey. Keep going. Surround yourself with the people who lift you up. Find your creative tribe, the ones who get what you're trying to do and cheer you on. Creativity isn't a solo act. It's a conversation, a dance between your ideas and the world around you. And remember this, the world is waiting for what only you can create. Nobody else has your exact experiences, your perspective, your voice. That's your superpower. Your work matters because it's yours. So go make something. Start messy. Start small. Just start. Creativity is yours. Take it, use it, share it. That's it for Borrow, Blend, and Build, the hidden rules of creative success. If you enjoyed this, please leave a comment and subscribe for more insights into creative success.